My name's Colin. I live in Bath in the southwest of England. This is my channel, the Yay Nay or Meh channel, and this is my first Oscar content of 2025. We're a couple of hours away from the Oscar nominations for 2025 finally being announced. It has been delayed a couple of times due to the tragic wildfires in Los Angeles County. Due to those tragic circumstances, the announcement of the 2025 Oscar nominations have been delayed twice, but they are finally going to be released in a couple of hours. Presented by Bowen Yang and Rachel Sennett, who are a couple of very cool people. Rachel Sennett in particular is one of my absolute favourite actresses and comedians working out there at the moment. But that's coming in a couple of hours. But because I haven't actually done any Oscars content for 2025 until now, I did want to do a brief preamble, and I'm recording this before the actual announcement so you can have a hint as to where I'm coming from. I've got a couple of things I wanted to talk about before the ceremony, before the actual announcements are made. And I also wanted to give a list of films and performances which I personally do think deserve Oscar love or Oscar attention and almost certainly aren't going to get it. So I'm going to go through some things that I want to talk about but probably or almost certainly aren't going to get nominated. But before any of that, I think it's also worth mentioning some of the films that I haven't actually yet seen. In most cases because they haven't actually come out here in the UK yet, but there are a list of 10 films I've put together which I haven't seen yet and have a non-zero chance of actually getting nominated. The biggest one of these is The Brutalist, which is one of several films which seem to be vying for the Best Picture this year. It's weird that this seems to be one of those years that there isn't a strong favourite. There's 2 or 3 films which could possibly end up winning Best Picture, and The Brutalist is one of them. September 5 seems to be getting some traction. It seems to be sort of surging up with a late run. Probably won't get any nominations, but it's certainly in the mix. The Last Showgirl is an interesting one because Pamela Anderson has a seemingly very legitimate chance of getting a Best Actress nomination at the Oscars. She did win Best Actress at the San Sebastian Film Festival and has had Oscar buzz for Best Actress, which is very strange. I mean, it puts that old gag from Futurama in a different context, doesn't it?
Hello, Fry. Remember me from Baywatch the movie? It was the first movie to be shot entirely in slow motion.
It hasn't been made yet.
Then he doesn't know I won the Oscar?
Nope.
Crap!
But also seemingly a contender in the Best Actress category is Marianne Jean-Baptiste in Hard Truths, which hasn't yet come out here in the UK, even though it is a Mike Leigh film. Saturday Night, the new Jason Reitman film, looks fascinating and again has surging up late. It probably won't get any actual nominations, maybe a Best Original Screenplay, but it's a contender. Haven't yet seen it. That's coming out next week. The Fire Inside, the boxing biopic directed by Rachel Morrison. A little bit of buzz, particularly around Brian Tyree Henry, Best Supporting Actor, but probably won't get any, but I think it is a contender which I haven't yet seen. Then we have 2 of the 15 international film Oscar nominations, which have the potential to actually cross over into the sort of mainstream Oscars and might actually get Best Picture nominations, Best Director nominations, and also Best Actress nomination. Seed of the Sacred Fig, the Iranian film which Germany had to submit to the International Feature Oscar race, which is a whole other thing. But that was very interesting. But that's, I haven't yet seen. That's out actually in a couple of weeks here in the UK. And then we have the Brazilian film I'm Still Here, which, as well as being a contender for the International Feature Oscar, one of the actresses, Fernanda Torres, has been doing remarkably well in the awards season. She actually won the Golden Globe for Best Actress in a Motion Picture Drama, which is bizarre. So there's a chance that she's going to get a Best Actress nomination, as well as the film getting into the International Feature race. And I'm Still Here is particularly frustrating because I should have already seen it. I actually bought a ticket to it when it was showing as a festival screening over in Bristol, but that screening coincided with the period I was in bed for 2 weeks with a major chest infection. So, yes, that's frustrating, but I have not seen I'm Still Here yet. And finally, we have a couple of films which I haven't yet seen because I want to do reactions to them eventually. And actually, both of them I'm going to be able to do reactions to very, very quickly because they're both coming out online very quickly. And that is Nosferatu, and I'm planning to do a video or reaction to all three versions of Nosferatu: the silent 1920s version, the Werner Herzog version from the 1970s, and now the new David Eggers one from 2024. That's going to be a major project which I'm planning soon. And also Moana 2, I haven't yet seen because I want to do a reaction to that as well. So that's a list of 10 films which I haven't yet seen, and my reactions to will be perhaps a little muted. So with that said, there are a couple of things that I'm really looking out for in these nomination announcements. One I want to happen, but I suspect might not. And another one that I think will happen, and I really, really don't want it to. The first thing I'm really passionate about, I'm really interested in, is the chances of Clarence Maclin getting a nomination for Best Supporting Actor in the film Sing Sing. Because I think he genuinely deserves it. But at least according to goldderby.com, which is where I'm getting all of my information from, there's seemingly a very strong chance he won't actually get a nomination. And that frustrates me because I think Sing Sing was an okay film. I think the two central performances in it of both Clarence Maclin and Coleman Domingo are outstanding, maybe even Oscar-winning worthy. But I'm not sure it's going to get anything. I think the marketing campaign, the awards campaign for Sing Sing, has been severely mishandled. They absolutely botched it. I believe it was A24 who did it. But I have not seen an Oscars campaign botched so badly since Selma back in the day, when David Oyelowo didn't get an Oscar nomination for Best Actor, when, in my opinion, he absolutely deserved it, because the marketing campaign started too late. And in this case, in Sing Sing's case, I think the marketing campaign started too early. Of all the major contenders at this year's Oscars, Sing Sing was released very, very early in the year. I think the philosophy was, well, it worked for Everything Everywhere All at Once, why can't it work for Sing Sing? And it just didn't work. There wasn't any momentum built. It wasn't sort of like the gradual swell of support that happened for Everything Everywhere All at Once. It was released and then nobody particularly cared. And then by the time actual award season started, people have forgotten about it. So I don't think Sing Sing is going to be a major, major contender. I hope it is because I actually quite liked it. Of all the contenders I've seen, I think it's one of my favourites probably. I think if I had to pick right now, I think my best picture winner might be Anora. But I think Sing Sing is a major contender, certainly. And particularly Clarence Maclin, who is playing a character who's loosely based on himself. Clarence Maclin is an ex-convict at Sing Sing prison and did go through this artistic program which the film is about. But he's actually really, really good. And I think this is demonstrated most clearly by a couple of clips I hopefully am going to be playing at this point. So we'll have to see how much I get past the copyright protections. But I really want to demonstrate what I believe is some excellent acting by Clarence Maclin in playing two clips from two different films that were released in 2024. Both of them are somebody giving the famous Hamlet soliloquy. And I think the contrast between the two, in my opinion, really shows the acting abilities of Clarence Maclin.
To be or not to be? That is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against the sea of troubles, and by opposing, end them. To die, to sleep. And by a sleep to say, we end the 1,000 natural heartaches that flesh is heir to. 'Tis a consummation devoutly wished, to die, to sleep. To sleep. Perchance. Perchance. Lie.
To be or not to be? That is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles, and by opposing end them. To die. To sleep no more. And by a sleep, to say we end the heartache and the 1,000 natural shocks that flesh is heir to. Tis a consummation devoutly to be wished, to die, to sleep. To sleep. Chance to dream. Ah, there's the rub. For in that sleep of death what dreams may come when we have shuffled off this mortal coil must give us pause.
So yeah, Megalopolis. One of the stranger experiences of 2024, and don't get me wrong, in general, I think Adam Driver is an excellent actor. I think he really deserved his Oscar nomination for A Marriage Story a couple of years back. But in that particular case, in my opinion, that was wild overacting from Adam Driver. In a wild, overacted film, Megalopolis, which was a troubled production. There were stories of such a chaotic and unorganised shooting environment that people who worked on the film surprised the film ever came out. The entire art department was quit and or fired. The visual effects department quit. There were stories which Francis Ford Coppola denies, that there were days that Francis Ford Coppola was just stuck in his trailer all day smoking weed, then came out and just did something weird that nobody was expecting them to do and hadn't been prepared for. Francis Ford Coppola denies he was high, but who knows? And there's also reports of Francis Ford Coppola being inappropriate with female extras. The fact that Megalopolis came out at all is surprising. It's not very coherent. It's a bizarre film. And apparently that bit where Adam Driver gives the Hamlet soliloquy wasn't even necessarily expected to be in the film. One of those situations where Francis Ford Coppola just decided on the day, let's just do it. Supposedly what happened is that there was a lighting test which often happens. We need to know if you move there, are we still lit? So in order to test this, Adam Driver just needed to say something. And being an actor, he's probably got the Hamlet soliloquy memorised. I'm sure many actors have the Hamlet soliloquy memorised. Shit, I think I could probably get through a lot of it, and I've never been an actor. So he was just wandering around doing the Hamlet soliloquy, doing the lighting test, and then Francis Ford Coppola decided to put it in the film. When it actually doesn't make a lot of sense that that character should be doing the Hamlet soliloquy at that particular point. One of many bizarre decisions in Megalopolis, but despite Adam Driver being a good actor, in my opinion, in that particular case, that was wild, over the top, and unnecessary. And contrast that to Clarence Maclin doing the Hamlet soliloquy, and in my opinion, you can see the contrast. I genuinely believe that is one of the best renditions of the Hamlet soliloquy I have ever seen. And I think perhaps it comes down to the fact that Clarence Maclin isn't a trained actor, or hasn't been a trained actor other than this in-prison drama program. I mean, by his own admission, he is a self-described former gangster. And yet he provides, in my opinion, one of the best renditions of the Hamlet soliloquy I've ever seen. Because maybe he's not a trained actor, he doesn't have the expected rhythms, he doesn't have the expected emphases. He puts his own twist, his own way of thinking into the piece. And it really, really works. And it should be pointed out that the bit at the end where he says line, that is deliberate, because he's rehearsing a play where somebody is pretending to be Hamlet, and then it's a comedic thing of him forgetting his line. So that's deliberate, which is why everybody hugs him at the end. But yeah, I genuinely believe that is one of the best renditions of the Hamlet soliloquy I have ever seen. And there's a chance that Clarence Maclin won't get nominated for Best Supporting Actor, which really, really frustrates me. So I wanted to put that out there, and I particularly wanted to play those two clips side by side of the two Hamlet soliloquies. And the other thing I'm really passionate about is, weirdly, the Best Song competition. Now, I got really interested in the race for the Best Song last year when the song Wajaje from Killers of the Flower Moon was nominated for Best Song. Because, as I said last year, I don't believe that's a song. I don't believe it should have been eligible. It's a chant. It's not a song. And on those criteria, I don't think Wajaje should have been eligible, and I don't think it should have been nominated. And because I got interested in that, I started delving into it and really discovered some very, very cool songs in the Best Song contention that just weren't getting the attention they deserved, or I believe they deserved. So I really dug into it last year. And I've done a similar thing this year. Going through the now 14 shortlisted songs. There were originally 15, but the song from the Robbie Williams biopic, A Better Man, was disqualified. So there are now 14 official shortlisted songs for the Best Song category. And doing my due diligence, I listened to them all. And I have a terrible, terrible feeling that once again, the Academy is going to fuck things up. I think that once again they're going to nominate Diane Warren when they absolutely should not. Now, this was another thing I did a section of a video about last year during my Oscars run. I actually, thinking about it, I might just do another video about the Best Original Song category at the Oscars, because it's getting more and more apparent in my mind that Diane Warren is ruining the Best Original Song category. Now, there are times in history when Diane Warren has absolutely deserved the Oscar for Best Original Song. and she didn't get it. Sometimes really deserving songs just came up against better things. Like one year she lost to My Heart Will Go On from Titanic, so fair play. Another time she lost to When You Believe from Prince of Egypt, which was bullshit in my opinion. Several times she has deserved to win, but never has. I believe she is now standing alone as the person who has been nominated the most times without ever winning a competitive Oscar. I believe it's now 25 nominations she's got, and she's never won. She did win an honorary Oscar. She did get one a couple of years ago at the Governor's Awards, but a competitive Oscar, Diane Warren has never won. And about a decade ago or so, the music branch of the Academy realised, oh shit, we haven't given Diane Warren an Oscar, so they keep nominating her and shortlisting her, usually for songs which really don't deserve it, in films you've never ever heard of. If there's a film and there's one nomination for it, and it's in the Best Original Song category, it's more than likely it's going to be a Diane Warren song. That seems to be the pattern over recent years. And this year, I think they're going to do the same thing, because one of the 14 shortlisted songs is by Diane Warren, and it's from the Tyler Perry film, The 6888. It's sung by her or HER. I'm honestly not sure how you say her name. I have no connection to modern pop culture. But it's called The Journey. It's from the film The 6888, and it's sung by her. Now, in my opinion, that is a bad song. I think it's bland. I think it's repetitive. I think it doesn't have the emotion. It doesn't have the impact behind it. I think that's going to get nominated, and I really don't think it deserves it. In my honest, genuine opinion, of the 14 shortlisted songs, that is the worst. And yet, I suspect it's going to be nominated. It's not going to win. It's probably going to lose to one of the songs from Amelia Perez, which, again, I'm not big fans of. But that's probably going to win the category. But I think Diane Warren is once again going to get an Oscar nomination for The Journey. And if the Academy was brave, if it was interested in actual vibrant music, in actual entertaining music, in good music, if it wanted to, for want of a better term, be cool, there are many options on this shortlist. You have Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross from Challengers, you have Kneecap from Kneecap, and to a lesser degree you have Pharrell Williams from Piece by Piece.
Sitting too long, getting woolly on the shelf, cause I'm too far gone when it comes to mental health. But I be sick in the head with a little bit of wealth. Now my chin I got it, call it strange, right? My time can do and they need to sit down, right? I get relaxed when I get shit, we can't check out. Then I go to pay a gas, like a show.
All three of those songs kick ass, and I doubt if any of them are actually going to get nominated. And Diane Warren, with her bland, repetitive bullshit, is going to get nominated. So if that happens, that's going to piss me off. So that's something to look out for in the Best Original Song category. And I bet I'm the only person doing one of these videos who's going to mention that. But yes, those are the two things I really am going to be looking out for. Hoping that Clarence Maclin does get a nomination, and hoping that Diane Warren doesn't get a nomination. So now I want to go through a quick rundown of some films which I don't think are going to get nominated, but maybe should have. And the first one of those is Night Bitch. Now, Night Bitch is a film that is one of those films that the buzz was there very, very early. It's directed by Marielle Heller, who has high profile. It's got Amy Adams, who again nominated many, many times, never actually won. But now we've come to, a couple of hours before the nominations are announced. I don't think Night Bitch is going to get anything. And that's disappointing, because I think it's actually really, really good. I genuinely think Amy Adams is deserving of an Oscar nomination. Maybe even Scoot McNairy for Best Supporting Actor. And certainly Marielle Heller for Screenplay and maybe even Directing. And Best Picture. I really, really enjoyed Night Bitch where I saw it. And it's one of those films where it had high profile, and it's faded now where we've actually come to the ceremony, and maybe it doesn't deserve it, because I actually really enjoyed Night Bitch, and particularly for the performance of Amy Adams, I think we need to pay attention to it. Another film that's in a similar boat of having a high profile and then gradually fading as we've come closer to the ceremony is Blitz from Steve McQueen, which I would be surprised if that got any Oscar nominations. But it's Steve McQueen, who has won Oscars in the past, and it was high profile. But once people actually saw Blitz, they realised it was more than anything kind of a Hollywood blockbuster material, albeit done in a very art house way. But it was a piece of entertainment rather than a piece of prestige filmmaking, what passes for prestige filmmaking in the modern era. And once people realised that, Blitz kind of faded into the background. But maybe we should actually pay attention to it, particularly, I think, for the direction of Steve McQueen. I mean, yes, in a lot of ways, this is mainstream filmmaking. But there are certain set pieces in Blitz which are directed masterfully. It opens on a scene of people fighting a fire, which is excellent. There's a scene in a West Indian nightclub in the 1940s, which is breathtaking. I mean, the energy, the vibrancy of it, it's exceptionally well done. And there's another sort of big moment involving a lot of water in an enclosed space. I mean, I don't want to give too much away for spoilers, but that is pulled off exceptionally well. I mean, great piece of action filmmaking. So there are certain set pieces in Blitz which are excellent. So maybe Steve McQueen, despite the fact that people didn't really like the film as a whole, as director, maybe Steve McQueen deserves some proper attention. And also Saoirse Ronan for Best Supporting Actress. Another film which qualifies in the major filmmaker, but is this actually going to get anywhere, is Here. Now, I might be alone in this. I think, in fact, I probably am alone in this. The Rotten Tomatoes score on this and the Metacritic score on this is very, very low. But personally speaking, I actually kind of liked Here. I mean, yes, it's Robert Zemeckis being experimental, playing with the form again. But in my mind, that actually works. I think there's something to be said for just going to somewhere different. Having a film which is so alien to everything you've ever seen before. Just letting it wash over you. I mean, if you don't know, what Here is basically an exploration of American society and culture over the past 300 odd years. What it does, I mean, it's based on a graphic novel. It is have basically the camera in one place, and then over centuries, even millennia, just letting that wash over it. And eventually you see a particular house and all the people who live in it. I mean, it starts out in fields, it starts out in forests. I mean, there's a brief thing with dinosaurs. Then we have Native Americans. Then we have a colonial house just across the street where Ben Franklin's illegitimate son lives. And then gradually this house gets built, and there's various families over the generations in the 1910s, in the 1940s, all the way through to the present day. And most of the time spent with Tom Hanks and Robin Wright, who meet as 18-year-olds and quickly become pregnant and have to get married, and there's sort of like dissatisfaction there. And Tom Hanks's parents live in this house, Paul Bettany and Kelly Riley, and he's troubled from his experiences in the Second World War and got this house through the GI Bill. Multiple generations living in this family, living in this house at the same time, all through the perspective of this one locked down camera and just seeing the living room played out in front of you. And I think it actually works. I mean, yes, there aren't many, big dramatic moments, but I think that's the point. I think what this film, or what I take out of this film, is the fact that, yes, this is the history of America. This is the history of American culture to some degree. And it's a history of disillusionment. It's a history of disappointment. It's a history of frustration. And the way that plays out when you just observe this living room over generations, over many, many years, and almost everybody who lives in this house is disappointed how tragedies happen to them. But we see multiple generations, multiple different inhabitants of this house. And I think it plays out really, really well. And the way that it says, with little windows going into the past, this is what was happening a century ago in this particular corner of the room, but the rest of the room is a different thing. A little bits here and there. I think it really, really works. So yes, Robert Zemeckis, once again, getting very, very experimental, trying to do new things with the form of filmmaking. And I think that deserves attention. I think the script by Oscar winner Eric Roth and Robert Zemeckis also deserves attention. Maybe even Paul Bettany as best supporting actor. I think that there was enough there that maybe he deserved some attention as well. But yeah, here was a film with a big name filmmaker. Didn't actually get him around. The reviews have not been good. But personally speaking, I actually liked here, and I did want to promote it. I mean, if you have heard, oh, that's a bad film, maybe give it a go. The next category of films I want to talk about are independent features, which have been getting some attention, but maybe deserve to get more attention. And the first of these is Fancy Dance. And this is one of those films that I watched it and it just sat with me. It stayed with me. I mean, when I was looking through my big list, my big spreadsheet of films to talk about, I kept coming back to Fancy Dance. I just realised, wow, that is actually a really, really good film. It stars Lily Gladstone as a Native American woman whose sister goes missing. And the film is basically her trying to find her missing sister with the help and occasional hindrance of her niece, her sister's daughter, played by Isabel Roy Olsen, as they try and figure out what's happened to the sister. And nobody gives a shit. Not the police, not the tribal police. The FBI technically should be interested since it's on Indian land, an Indian reservation. But nobody's interested. It's only Lily Gladstone who is interested and trying to figure out what's happened to her sister. And the stark truth, which is discussed in Fancy Dance is that Native American women just disappear. I mean, it's statistically, Native American women disappear at a massively inflated rate than any other demographic in the United States. And that just happens. Nobody cares. And that's the basic truth of the film Fancy Dance. And I think it's powerful stuff and it's brilliantly acted. I mean, I think Lily Gladstone, honestly, I think she's better in this than she was in Killers of the Flower Moon. Wasn't actually the biggest fan of her in Killers of the Flower Moon, comparatively speaking. But I think Lily Gladstone is excellent in Fancy Dance. I also think Shea Wiggum, very underrated character actor playing her father, is decent as best supporting actor. And also the director Erica Tremblay alongside Missiana Alice for screenplay, I think also deserves some serious consideration. So yes, Fancy Dance is an independent film about the treatment of Native women, which was really powerful and I really think deserves actual attention. And another independent film about a marginalised community is the film Dee Dee. Written and directed by Sean Wang, who was nominated for Best Short Film a couple of years ago, short film documentary. This is an autobiographical story of a Taiwanese American boy growing up in the 1990s and trying and failing to find his thing. What am I? And he tries to hang out with some skate kids and that doesn't really work. He tries to form an attachment with a girl he's got a crush on. That doesn't really work. And basically he's a bit of a dick. And that's what I actually like about Dee Dee, is the fact that this is unafraid to say that a 14-year-old boy, a 14-year-old character, even a 14-year-old character based on yourself, is a bit of a dick. And as part of that, I think what really stands out in the film Dee Dee, as well as the screenplay by Sean Wang, is the performance of Joan Chen, who plays this 14-year-old boy's mother. And I think she really deserved some serious consideration as Best Supporting Actress. The way that Joan Chen plays this woman who has been frustrated by life. She's essentially been abandoned by her husband. I mean, very soon after she married, her husband moved back to Taiwan. And yes, he sends money. Yes, they live in this big house. But she's also living with her mother-in-law, who kind of hates her, and nothing is ever good enough for her mother-in-law. And now she's got this sullen 14-year-old who she's also dealing with. And the way that Joan Chen has to deal with all of this shit, I think she plays it really, really well. So yes, Dee Dee is a film I did like, and particularly the performance of Joan Chen, who I think maybe deserves some proper consideration for Best Supporting Actress. Also in this same category is the film Ghostlight, which is a tiny, tiny independent film written by Kelly O'Sullivan, and I think brilliantly written by Kelly O'Sullivan. She's a woman who a few years back wrote and starred in the film Saint Francis, which I thought was excellent. She writes this, and it stars Keith Kupferer, who I think maybe deserved some attention for Best Leading Actor. And rather charmingly, Keith Kupferer in the film has a wife and a daughter who are played by his actual wife and daughter in real life. They cast the family as the lead in this film, which I thought was rather charming. But Keith Kupferer plays a blue-collar worker in Chicago who accidentally, literally accidentally, just walks into a community theatre workshop directed by the brilliant Dolly De Leon, who I think is one of world cinema's great treasures at the moment. But Dolly De Leon is this actress/director, and she brings Keith Kupferer in, and eventually Keith Kupferer's daughter in as well, to this community theatre troupe doing a production of Romeo and Juliet, which allows this blue-collar man for the first time to deal with the trauma which has been festering in this family for a while. I mean, it's unaddressed because, I am a man. I don't talk about my feelings. And yet being in this play allows these feelings which need to be dealt with, they actually get dealt with. And it's really, really well done. I mean, I think the performance of Keith Cupra, the script by Kelly O'Sullivan, even the film itself. I mean, yes, it's a tiny, tiny film, but yeah, I really, really liked Ghostlight. So yeah, that's what I wanted to highlight. And also Thelma, which is another one of these small independent films which maybe might actually get an Oscar nomination for June Squibb, which would be great. I mean, yes, she has been Oscar nominated in the past for Best Supporting Actress for Nebraska, but she's in her 90s now, June Squibb, and this is the first time she's actually led a film. Based on the story of the writer-director Josh Margolin's grandmother, Thelma, who gets scammed and then goes on her mobility scooter, or rather her friend's mobility scooter, to try and get her money back. The friend being played by the late lamented Richard Roundtree, and I think Richard Roundtree deserves some consideration for a posthumous Best Supporting Actor nomination. I mean, it's kind of depressing to see Shaft having to ride a mobility scooter, but Richard Roundtree is excellent in this. June Squibb is excellent in it. And Thelma in general is just a delightful, charming film, but with a little bit of bite to it, a little bit of grit in it. But in general, a really charming, a really delightful film, brilliantly played by both June Squibb and Richard Roundtree. Another thing that the Oscars don't really do is they don't pay attention to horror films. And this year I think there were a few horror films which deserve attention. I mean, yes, one is probably going to get Oscar nominations, might even win an Oscar in The Substance. I think Demi Moore is suddenly one of the favourites to win Best Actress, which she deserves, don't get me wrong, but that was a very, very late surge for Demi Moore to come in. But yeah, The Substance is getting attention, and it will probably get a nomination for Best Actress, will probably get a nomination for Best Picture. Although I think Dennis Quaid in The Substance is probably not going to get nominated. It's one of those performances that it's a very, very small role, but maybe he deserves a nomination for Best Supporting Actor nonetheless, because he is so grotesque in The Substance. I mean, a awful man at the centre of this corporate world and objectifying both Demi Moore and Margaret Qualley and stuffing shrimp in his mouth and just having close-up of his grotesque lips moving. He is a despicable human being, and he plays it brilliantly. Wonder why? I mean, given his newfound religious convictions, but yeah, Dennis Quaid in The Substance may be Best Supporting Actor, playing a grotesque producer named Harvey. But yeah, The Substance might actually get some Oscar nominations, but there are other films that I think maybe deserved Oscar nominations, despite being horror movies. And the biggest of those being Heretic. Heretic is a film which I think surprised me. I think it is an A24 horror film, a cerebral horror film, but this is really, really a cerebral horror film. This is about thought. This is about discussion. This is about faith. It's about being confronted with your faith and having to deal with it. And the brilliant Hugh Grant, who did surprisingly get a nomination at the Golden Globes for Best Actor in a Comedy or Musical, and Heretic is neither, but he did get some Oscar attention. So yes, Hugh Grant as leading actor, Chloe East as supporting actress, I think is also a nomination which maybe we should give serious consideration to. And also both the writing and directing of Scott Beck and Brian Woods, the team who wrote The Quiet Place films. But yeah, I think Heretic was a film which really made you think about religion and faith in really interesting ways. And I think it does deserve actual Oscar attention. And also in the horror realm, we have I Saw the TV Glow, which is never going to get nominated because it's by a trans filmmaker. But yes, I think Jane Schoenbrunn deserves serious consideration as Best Director. I think their film We're All Going to the World's Fair was one of the revelations a couple of years ago. Really small, really independent film, but the experience of watching We're All Going to the World's Fair was amazing. I mean, the closeness of it, the intimacy of it, and the horror of it, the deep, dark, psychological horror of We're All Going to the World's Fair was extraordinary. And I think Jane Schoenbrunn's follow-up, I Saw the TV Glow, has a lot of the same things. I mean, the trans narrative, or certainly a metaphorically trans narrative, but the way that we basically unpick the relationship at the core of this, and particularly in the performance of Justice Smith, who I think serious consideration for Best Actor for Justice Smith. But yeah, I Saw the TV Glow. It is one of those films that if you watch it in the right frame of mind, if you watch it with that key, knowing this is by a trans filmmaker, have that in your mind and the film will open up to you. And I Saw the TV Glow, I thought was exceptional. Really should get more attention. It's not going to, because amongst other things, it's a horror film and it's a trans film and it's very, very independent. So it's not going to get the attention it deserves. But yeah, I wanted to mention I Saw the TV Glow. Particularly when we're talking about the screenplay categories, sometimes you have the kind of film where you are watching it and you're thinking, this is a script, this has been written. I mean, nobody says those perfect words in those perfect orders, and it feels far too controlled, far too constructed. And despite that, sometimes it works nonetheless, and maybe we should award that kind of thing anyway. And there are a couple of those examples this year. Most notably, I think The Piano Lesson, based on a famous play by August Wilson, who also wrote Fences and Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. Denzel Washington has got the rights to all of it. I think there's 12 films in this Pittsburgh cycle. This is the third of them. Directed and co-written by his son Malcolm, starring his son John David. So yes, Malcolm Washington and Virgil Williams wrote the screenplay to The Piano Lesson. And yes, it is perfect. I mean, every perfect word in every perfect place. But it works. So yes, maybe more attention to Piano Lesson. And also in that same category is His Three Daughters by Azazel Jacobs. Now, the previous Azazel Jacobs films I'd seen, French Exit, and there was another one of his I saw as well, I really, really hated. But this one he did for Netflix, and despite myself, I really, really liked it. I mean, again, it is a film meticulously constructed, the perfect moment, the perfect phrase at the perfect time, with three excellent performances from Elizabeth Olsen, Carrie Coon, and particularly Natasha Lyonne. I mean, maybe that's why I had such a strong reaction to His Three Daughters, is the acting performance of Natasha Lyonne, who honestly I don't think has ever been better. At least in a film, I don't think Natasha Lyonne has ever been better. And that's saying something. I mean, this is one of the icons of queer cinema from But I'm a Cheerleader, and she's done many other things since. But Natasha Lyonne is exceptionally good in His Three Daughters. In fact, all three of the main characters are. It's one of those films that make you wish that the Oscars had a Best Ensemble category, because I really want to award all three of the actresses in this, Elizabeth Olsen, Carrie Coon, and Natasha Lyonne. But if I had to highlight somebody, Natasha Lyonne is excellent in this, and I think she should get some serious buzz for Best Supporting Actress, because that's the best category to put somebody who's acting in an ensemble in the Oscars. But yes, I mean, the script to both The Piano Lesson and His Three Daughters, very meticulous, very constructed, and maybe we should award that anyway. And at the other end of the spectrum, we have the fun screenplay, which they occasionally nominate. Like Knives Out got nominated a few years back, being a fun screenplay. And this year, I think maybe Hitman, the latest film from Richard Linklater, had that kind of vibe to it. In a lot of ways, rather silly, but it does actually have some profound things underneath it. I mean, Richard Linklater co-written with the star of the film, Glenn Powell. I think the screenplay to Hitman was actually really, really good. And it's also worth noting that the genesis of the film Hitman was an article written by the journalist Skip Hollandsworth. And he's the journalist who also wrote the article that the film Bernie was based on a few years back, starring Jack Black, which I think is honestly one of Richard Linklater's most underrated films. I really, really liked Bernie, and that was also based on a Skip Hollandsworth article, as is this film Hitman. But yeah, so I think some attention to the screenplay for Hitman was deserved. A couple of leading actors who I would like to mention, but I don't think would get any actual Oscar buzz. Firstly, I think Kristen Dunst in Civil War. Now, Civil War is a film with problems. I think some people thought it didn't go far enough. Some people thought it went too far. Being a film about the current political situation of the United States, it was always going to be somewhat problematic. But despite the issues that Civil War has, I think the central performance of Kirsten Dunst in Civil War is worthy of mention. I also think the acting performance of Jesse Eisenberg in A Real Pain is worth mentioning as well. A Real Pain is getting a lot of attention and probably get nominated for Best Supporting Actor for Kieran Culkin, probably Best Original Screenplay as well, written by Jesse Eisenberg. But I think Jesse Eisenberg as an actor also deserves some serious attention. I mean, yes, this is to a large degree Kieran Culkin's film. It is about this chaotic presence which not only frustrates and irritates his cousin Jesse Eisenberg, but everybody who's on this bus tour with him. He is the centre of chaos. He is gathering all the attention. And that is the way the film has been designed. I mean, it's almost designed to get Kieran Culkin an Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actor. But I think Jesse Eisenberg has an underrated presence in the film, A Real Pain, because he's the column of normalcy around which this chaos is surrounding. And the best individual moment, the best individual scene in A Real Pain is a monologue given by Jesse Eisenberg. I mean, some brilliant, brilliant acting. And I think Jesse Eisenberg as an actor, equally as much as a writer and even director, deserved attention for A Real Pain. And I also wanted to mention Jude Law, and I haven't done that in Oscar consideration for quite some time. But in 2024, he had not one but two films. Very, very small films, which he's never going to get nominated for, but I think both of them deserve actual attention. In both Firebrand and The Order. In Firebrand, he plays King Henry VIII. And plays King Henry VIII as a grotesque, paranoid bully who is basically sexually assaulting his wife, is having people killed left, right and centre. I mean, there's people out for the crown and I must kill them. And he's grotesquely overweight. He's very, very ill, but can't possibly show that he's ill. I mean, he is on the verge of death, but he can't let this happen. And the grotesque performance of Jude Law in Firebrand is excellent. And I also think Jude Law was equally excellent in The Order, the new film from Justin Kurzel, about an FBI agent in the 1980s in Idaho. Not the most glamorous posting, but this FBI agent in Idaho becomes convinced that a series of bank robberies in the local area is actually being carried out by a local white nationalist militia. And in investigating this white nationalist militia, bad things happen. Really bad things happen. And it's kind of that cliche of, the maverick cop. Here is an FBI agent who, despite everything, will go to the end of this. He must see this through. But in The Order, there is no glamour about this. There is no honour about this. Even as he is doing it, Jude Law knows this will destroy his life. He's already lost his family. He's stuck in the middle of nowhere. He's drinking too much. He's taking pills. He knows that this is not noble. This is not heroic. This is not even good. This is not a good idea. Yet he's going to do it anyway. He is willingly going to destroy his life because this is what he does. This is what he must do. And the pathos of that. Jude Law, I thought, was excellent in both The Order and in Firebrand. And he's not going to get nominated for either of them, but I thought it was worth mentioning. And one final film I wanted to give a shout out for is a film that is eligible for the Best Animated Feature. And that is the Pakistani film, The Glassworker, which Pakistan did submit to the International Feature Oscar race, and as such it is also eligible for the Best Animated Feature race. And it's not going to get nominated, but I think maybe it deserves it. It's certainly in my personal mix of the films I've seen, and I've seen most of the major ones. But The Glassworker, I think, is excellent. I mean, it very, very much reminds me of Hayao Miyazaki and Studio Ghibli, and deliberately so. I mean, the director has openly said he was inspired by Studio Ghibli. And he came so damn close to being Studio Ghibli. I mean, it's very, very heartfelt. It's very, very poetic. In places, it's very melancholic. I mean, the film ends on a surprisingly downbeat note, but still a note of hope and beauty and grace. It's a film with a strong anti-war message. It's a film with a strong message about pragmatism. There are some really horrific moments in it. I mean, it is about the situation in a war, and we do occasionally see moments of war. But yeah, the beauty and the magic of Studio Ghibli, with a little bit of real world issues also surrounding it. So yeah, if and when you have an opportunity to see the Pakistani animated film The Glassworker, I strongly recommend that one as well. So that's a long time I've been talking about various things before the Oscar ceremony. Have I really been going over an hour? Oh, yes, I have. Yeah, I'm going to have to significantly cut this down. But yes, those are my thoughts before the Oscar nominations are announced. And I've still got about an hour before that happens, but I did want to get this all out. I mean, as it turns out, I had a lot of stuff to talk about. Is anybody actually going to watch this video? I guess we'll find out. But regardless of that, I did have lots of things to get off my chest, and that has been done. So, I'm going to stop the recording here, and the next time you see me, I will have my headphones on, and I will be reacting to the actual nominations, or the nomination announcement for the 2025 Oscars. So I will be back in about an hour, but there'll be a transition here and we'll carry on with the video.
To announce this year's Academy Award nominees, please welcome Rachel Sennett and Bowen Yang.
Good morning, everyone. Hello. What an honor.
Okay, Rachel Sennett went with the big hair
Me
today.
and Bowen are wide awake. We have been up since 10 p.m.
Supporting
First,
actor.
for best performance by an actor in a supporting role, Yura Borisov in Anora.
Okay, that's a little
Kieran
bit of
Culkin
a...
in A Real Pain.
Yeah, Kieran Culkin.
Edward Norton in A Complete Unknown.
Yeah.
Guy Pearce in The Brutalist. And Jeremy Strong in The Apprentice.
Jeremy Strong! Okay. So Denzel Washington misses out.
A Different Man. Emilia Perez.
Emilia Perez.
Nosferatu.
That's an interesting one.
The Substance. And Wicked.
Okay, well, there's lots of prosthetics plus
Next
Emilia,
up, the
Emilia
nominees for
Perez has
achievement in
prosthetics
music,
as well, doesn't
original
it?
score.
Score.
The Brutalist.
Not
Conclave.
got any.
Emilia Perez. Wicked. And The Wild Robot.
Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross miss out for Challengers. It's disappointing.
And now we have the first of the two award categories honoring writing. First, for adapted screenplay, the nominees are A Complete Unknown, a screenplay by James Mangold and Jay Cox.
Okay.
Conclave, screenplay by Peter Strawn.
Which is unfortunately probably going
Emilia
to win.
Perez, screenplay by Jacques Audiard, in collaboration with Thomas Bideguin.
The more I think about it, the less I like Emilia Perez.
Thank you. Nickel Boys, screenplay by Ramel Ross and Jocelyn Barnes. And Sing Sing, screenplay by Clint Bentley.
Excellent.
Greg Queter, story by Clint Bentley. Greg Queter, Clarence Maclin, John Devine G. Whitfield.
So yeah, that was unexpected. Gene does
And for
miss
original
out.
Screenplay, the nominees are
And Wicked, for that matter. Original screenplay.
Anora,
Okay.
written by Sean Baker.
Yes.
The Brutalist, written by
Yep.
Brady Corbet, Mona Fastful. A Real Pain, written by Jesse Eisenberg. September 5, written by Moritz Binder, Tim Fellbaum, co-written by Alex David. And The Substance.
Yes, The Substance. Oh, bloody adverts! It's a live stream, you stupid site.
And last, before our break,
So yeah,
the
that
nominees
was
for
the-
performance by an actress in
The
a
expected
supporting
5.
role.
Yeah.
Monica Barbaro in A Complete Unknown. Ariana Grande in Wicked.
Don't think either of
Felicity
the women
Jones,
from A Complete
Brutalist.
Unknown deserved
Isabella
it, but I would have
Rossellini
picked
in
Al
Conclave.
Fanning.
And Zoe Saldana in Emilia Perez.
Now, Daniel Deadweiler misses out again for the piano lesson. I mean, honestly speaking, I'm not sure that Daniel Deadweiler deserved it for the piano lesson, but she definitely deserved it for Till a couple of years ago and then got fucked over by Andrew Riseborough. So yeah, Monica Barbro's a little bit of a surprise for A Complete Unknown in supporting actress. I mean, like I said, I don't think either of them particularly deserved it, but I would have gone for Al Fanning over Monica Barbaro for A Complete Unknown. I'm not a big fan of Isabella Rossellini in Conclave either. I mean, that's just not a big enough role and not a noticeable enough role. It's good that Ariana Grande made it. Zoe Saldana, I think, is going to win. Haven't seen Felicity Jones yet. And in supporting actor, Denzel Washington missing out is a little bit of a surprise. I'm glad that Yura Borisov made it. I mean, he seemed to have a bit of a late surge. Clarence Maclin didn't make it. Yeah, what I feared. Very depressing. Although he does get an Oscar, technically get an Oscar nomination for original screenplay. think it was it story by I think he's credited as. I think he gets an Oscar as well. But so yeah, Clarence Maclin does get an Oscar nomination, but he should have got it for Sing Sing, for acting in Sing Sing. I've seen Kieran Culkin, Edward Norton, Yura Borisov and Jeremy Strong. Haven't seen Guy Pearce yet. I might take out Yura Borisov. It's probably the weakest of the four I've seen. Maybe Edward Norton, although he is good in A Complete Unknown. Yeah, Clarence Maclin definitely should have made it, in my opinion. I think whoever it was who did the marketing campaign, the awards campaign for Sing Sing, really, really fucked it up. They released it too early and didn't do enough to publicise it, to keep it in the public consciousness, for the voting consciousness. What else we got? Screenplay. Yeah, Dune and Wicked didn't make it an adapted screenplay. Piano Lesson didn't make it. It's actually not a particularly strong year for adapted screenplay, I don't think. And honestly, I think Sing Sing would be my choice, I think. Original screenplay. Haven't seen September 5 or the Bruce list yet. I mean, as I said, I think A Real Pain is very, very good. The Substance is good. And Nora, I think I might go for A Real Pain out of the ones I've seen. But yeah, Hard Truths I haven't seen yet, but that might well be a strong contender for me. Saturday Night and Seed of the Sacred Fig. I'm going off my spreadsheet, which is taken from Gold Derby. Yesterday I did my spreadsheet with all the potential nominees on it. So yeah, no real surprises or shocks yet, I don't think. But I am disappointed with Clarence Maclin not getting supporting actor.
So anyways, the nominees for Achievement in
Okay, here we
Music,
go.
original song are El Mal from Emilia Perez.
Yeah.
The Journey from the 688.
Damn it!
Like a Bird from
Fucking
Sing Sing.
Diane Warren!
Mi Camino from Emilia Perez. And Never Too Late from Elton John. Never
Of course,
Too Late.
Elton John.
Smashed it. For Best International Feature Film, the nominees are I'm Still Here, Brazil.
Yeah.
The Girl with the Needle, Denmark.
Okay, a little bit of a surprise.
Emilia Perez, France.
Obviously, he's going to win.
The Seed of the Sacred Fig, Germany.
Slash
And
Iran.
Flow, Latvia.
Flo made it. Oh, Kneecap missed out, you bastard!
And for Best Animated Feature Film,
Thought
here
that was
are
going to
the
be
nominees.
might be too provocative
Flo.
for the Academy. Flo again.
Inside Out 2.
Yeah. Which personally think I should.
Memoir of a Snail.
Yeah, Memoir of a Snail.
Wallace and
Very
Gromit,
melancholy, but
Vengeance
really,
Most
really
Foul.
cool. Yeah.
And The Wild Robot.
Yeah, no surprises there. So Disney misses out. Moana 2 didn't make it, which was kind of expected, but still.
Next up for Achievement in Film Editing, the nominees are Honora, The Brutalist, Conclave, Emilia Perez, and Wicked.
Oh, Dune didn't make it. That's a surprise.
And for Achievement in Sound, here are the nominees. A Complete Unknown.
Music.
Dune Part 2.
Sci-fi
Emilia
epic.
Perez. Wicked.
Music. Music.
And The Wild Robot.
Ah, the Wild Robots. Okay.
Next, the nominees for Achievement in Visual Effects. Alien Romulus,
There's always
Better
a
Man.
weird one that gets nominated in this
Dune
category.
Part 2,
Yeah.
Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes,
Yeah, lots of motion capture and
Wicked.
CGI stuff. And Wicked. Actually, it's got some motion capture
A lot of
stuff.
monkeys in those films, I just realized. For
Yeah.
Achievement in Cinematography,
Lots and lots
the
of
nominees
nominations for
are
Wicked. I'm starting to think that Wicked's becoming the
The
favourite.
Brutalist. Dune Part 2. Emilia Perez, Maria, and Nosferatu.
Yeah, the Cinematography Guild sometimes goes weird. I mean, if somebody
For performance by an
does a
actor
really
in a
good
leading
job in a
role,
really
the nominees
sort of,
are
leading actor.
Adrian Brody in The Brutalist,
Okay.
Timothy Chalamet in A Complete Unknown,
Yeah.
Coleman Domingo in Sing Sing,
Yes. Well, at least he got that.
Ralph Fiennes in Conclave,
Yeah.
and Sebastian Stan in The Apprentice.
Really? They got nominated for
performance
Donald
by an
Trump. I
actress
wasn't
in a
sure that
leading
would
role,
actually
the
happen.
nominees are
Daniel Craig and Jesse
Cynthia
Eisenberg miss out.
Erivo in
Bit of a
Wicked,
shame. Nice.
Carla Sofia Gascon in Emilia Perez,
First trans
Mikey
actress
Madison
to
in
make it.
Nora, Demi Moore in The Substance,
Yes.
and Fernanda Torres.
Fernanda
in I'm Still
Torres
Here.
did make it. For I'm Still Here. So a foreign
For achievement in
actress.
directing, the
Marie-Jo
nominees are
Baptiste miss out. Angelina Jolie misses out.
Sean Baker, Honora, Brady
Yeah.
Corbet, The Brutalist,
I have to say, I'm not a fan of Brady Corbett's
Mangold,
work,
A
but
Complete
let's see. I
Unknown.
haven't seen it yet. Oh, James Mangold,
Jacques
as
Audiard,
director.
Emilia Perez,
Wow.
and Coralie Farja.
Corey
Substance.
Faja. Nice. So it's not
Okay,
director
y'all,
so
for our
male.
final
Edward Berger misses out.
category.
Final category, I
Ramel Ross
cannot
misses
wait.
out.
I
Denis
feel like
Villeneuve
we
misses out.
I feel like we should.
And John
Okay,
Chu.
here are the 10 nominees for Best Motion Picture of the Year.
Here they are.
Here we go.
Honora, Alex Coco, Samantha
Yep.
Kwan, and Sean Baker, producers.
Boom. The Brutalist. Nominees to be determined.
It's always funny when that
Complete
happens.
Unknown, Fred Berger, James
Yeah.
Mangold, and Alex Heineman, producers.
Conclave. Tessa Ross,
Conclave,
Juliette
yeah.
Howell, and Michael A. Jackman, producers.
It's an airport novel.
Dune, Part 2, Mary Parent, Cale Boyder, Tanya Lapointe, and Denis Villeneuve, producers.
Emilia Perez. Nominees
Yeah.
to be determined. Producers.
I'm Still Here, nominees to be determined.
I'm Still Here made it as well.
Come on.
Shit.
Nickel Boys. Nominees to be determined.
Oh, Nickel Boys.
Yay.
That's a little bit of a surprise.
The Substance,
wasn't a big fan of Nickel
nominees
Boys,
to be determined.
Substance.
And
So
Wicked.
I did
Mark
go for the weird one.
Platt, producer.
Okay.
There it is, you guys.
There it is, y'all.
Sing Sing misses out. A Real Pain misses out. That's... Oh, they fucked over Sing Sing. They really, really fucked over Sing Sing. I'm Still Here. Making it for Best Picture as well as Best International Feature. I don't think anybody saw that one coming. And I was really, really pissed off that I missed it when I was ill in bed when I got my ticket for the festival screening in Bristol. It's frustrating. I'm Still Here in Best Picture. I mean, that's a big one. Particularly over Sing Sing and A Real Pain. And September 5, I mean, I haven't seen September 5 yet, but that was considered a major contender for Best Picture. I mean, and if a second international feature was going to make it, as well as Emilia Perez, which was obviously going to get nominated and is almost certainly going to win international feature, because it's got so many other nominations and potential awards. If there was going to be a second international film in the Best Picture category, everybody expected it to be Seed of the Sacred Fig. And even then, it wasn't going to be a major contender, or perceived as a major contender. James Mangold making it for Best Director. That's a big one. Over Edward Berger for Conclave. And Denis Villeneuve for Dune Part 2. And for that matter, John M. Chu for Wicked. Ramel Ross, I think, was so experimental. I mean, Nickel Boys is directed and shot in such an unusual way that, personally speaking, I did have a bit of an issue with it. I wasn't the hugest fan of Nickel Boys. But yeah, if there was going to be a weird director who snuck into the director category, people were anticipating Ramal Ross, but James Mangold for A Complete Unknown. I think the Oscar seems to like that film a lot more than I did. I mean, I thought it was absolutely fine. I thought for what it is, a music biopic, it was very good. And yes, Timothée Chalamet is very good as Bob Dylan. I personally think that Elle Fanning is better as Sylvie, can't remember her surname, the girlfriend, rather than Monica Barbaro as Joan Baez. But I mean, I don't begrudge Monica Barbaro a nomination, but I would have gone with Elle Fanning. Actress, yeah, Fernanda Torres made it, which in retrospect, now that I'm Still Here, got a Best Picture nomination as well. That makes sense. So Pamela Anderson did miss out. It was never particularly likely to happen, but I'm disappointed at that. Amy Adamsman, June Squibb missed out. I talked about them earlier. Even Nicole Kidman in Baby Girl, I thought that was a very good performance as well. And Angelina Jolie in Maria. That was one of those films, one of those performances, sort of like specifically designed to get Angelina Jolie a Best Actress nomination. And it didn't happen, but it did for Fernanda Torres. And I'm Still Here. I mean, that's surprising. So yeah, Best Actor, Jesse Eisenberg did miss out, which is disappointing but kind of expected. Daniel Craig missed out for Queer, which again, I mean, I wasn't the hugest fan of Queer. I think it's too strange for its own good at the end of the day, or I think that's kind of how I feel about it. But yeah, I'm glad that Sebastian Stan did make the cut playing Donald Trump in The Apprentice. And I'm glad that Sing Sing did get at least one major nomination. Well, actually got original adapted screenplay as well. But Colin Domingo did make it for Sing Sing. But Sebastian Stan made it for The Apprentice. Although arguably, I think his best performance was in A Different Man. I think there's a legitimate debate you could have between The Apprentice and A Different Man as to which is the better Sebastian Stan performance this year. I think I would go with The Apprentice, but it's a very close thing. So yeah, that was cool seeing Sebastian Stan getting nominated for one of those two performances. Yeah, Danielle Deadwyler missed out again. Although this time I don't think she was as deserving as she was with Till. Margaret Qualley for The Substance also missed out, which is a little bit surprising. I mean, I would have taken either of those over Isabella Rossellini in Conclave. I just was not impressed with Isabella Rossellini in Conclave. I mean, she's got one mildly, impactful speech, but not really. Other than that, she's very, very much in the background. I mean, considering she is playing a nun in the Vatican, a woman in the Vatican, I mean, it's a very, very male-dominated environment, which is kind of one of the points of the film. It's one of the major points of the film is how male it is. So, by nature, Isabella Rossellini's character is a little bit in the background, but for my money, that just doesn't give her a big enough role, a big enough performance. So, yeah, I definitely would have taken Margaret Qualley or Danielle Deadwyler over Isabella Rossellini in Conclave. And I haven't seen Jamie Lee Curtis in The Last Showgirl either, but she was apparently a major contender as well. Even Saoirse Ronan in Blitz I would have taken over Isabella Rossellini. I mean, that's one I just do not get. I don't understand why that performance from Isabella Rossellini has got all this attention. I mean, again, Isabella Rossellini, brilliant actress. I love her. That particular role, not impressed at all. Supporting actor, yeah, Denzel Washington misses out for Gladiator 2. Clarence Maclin misses out for Sing Sing, which really, really upsets me. But I'm glad that Jeremy Strong made it. I mean, I think that was a very good performance playing Roy Cohn. I think this is probably between Kieran Culkin and Guy Pearce, and again, I haven't seen Guy Pearce yet. Yeah, Yuri Borisov. I get it. I get why he got nominated. I'm glad he got nominated. You know, a new name being added to the mix. But personally, I would have taken Clarence Maclin over Yuri Borisov. Might even have taken Denzel Washington in Gladiator 2 over Yuri Borisov as well. But yeah, a good strong field there. Adapted screenplay kind of went as was expected, although it is a little surprising that both Dune Part 2 and Wicked missed out, you know, the two major adaptations that were released in the cinema this year. Nickel Boys did make that category, an adapted screenplay. And honestly, I think I would have taken Dune Part 2 or Wicked over that, or The Piano Lesson. Or Hitman as well. Yeah, I suppose that is adapted because it was an article by Skip Hollandsworth. But yeah, original screenplay. Yeah, September 5 did make it. I'm really curious to see that. Now that's coming out in 2 weeks' time here in the UK. Brutalist, I'm actually seeing. I mean, I'm recording this on Thursday as the nominations are being announced. I'm seeing the Brutalist on Monday, so we'll see what I think about that when I see it. I think The Apprentice had a decent chance of getting an original screenplay nomination, and Heretic missed out, but it was always going to, because in general the Academy doesn't go for horror, although The Substance got a lot of love. I mean, and in a lot of ways that's one of the most grotesque body horror type films out this year. I mean, the ending, I mean the climax of The Substance is one of the most grotesque and over-the-top scenes I think I've ever seen. I mean, there's some really, really over-the-top shit in The Substance, and yet it's still got a Best Picture nomination, and Demi Moore got a Best Actress nomination as well. And Coralie Farshia got a Best Director nomination as well, which is cool. Yeah, the expected list made the animated feature list. Flow got nominated for both animated and international feature, and honestly, I'm just not a fan of that film. I think I was very underwhelmed by what Flow actually is, but people seem to love it. I think there's a non-zero chance it's going to win this category, although it's almost certainly going to go to The Wild Robot. If, you know, one of the independent outsider animations made it, I think Memoir of a Snail, the Australian stop-motion animated film, is very melancholy, but it's also very brilliant. Of the 5 nominees, I think that's my choice. But as I mentioned at the beginning, I really like the Pakistani film The Glass Worker. I think that would also be in my personal list. I haven't actually seen it yet, but the French animated film Chicken for Linda, there's been people I respect who really, really love Chicken for Linda, so I can't wait to see that and see if maybe that would sneak into my personal list. But yeah, I'm concerned that Flow is going to win the animated feature. I don't think it's going to win international feature, particularly since it's now got 2 major contenders in Emilia Perez and I'm Still Here, both of which have a chance of winning international feature now, I think. I mean, that just blows my mind. I'm Still Here made a Best Picture nomination. That astonishes me. But yeah, they didn't go for Kneecap. They went for the much more traditional and sedate Danish film Girl with a Needle. I mean, Kneecap is very outrageous. It's very out there. I mean, there's scenes of... I mean, it's a biopic of this Irish language Gaelic rap group. And one of the things they do, and they're playing themselves in a film about their own, a fictionalised version of their own foundation. And there are scenes of them on stage and just throwing drugs out into the audience. And that's one of the things that gets them popular. Hey, you go to a Kneecap gig, you get free drugs. And it's very much about, you know, the wild excess and that. So, yeah, lots and lots of stuff about the excess, and also a lot of stuff about the Irish language and the persistence of the Irish language. And using your own language or your ancestral language as a form of protest. I mean, one of the posters has a sign of, British advisory, Irish language use, that kind of thing, which I think is a brilliant touch. So yeah, I mean, I really, really like Kneecap. I mean, it's fun, it's anarchic, it's energetic, and they didn't nominate it because it's too outrageous. They went with the more serious Girl with a Needle. I mean, I've watched half of the Girl with the Needle, or probably about half, maybe a third of the Girl with the Needle, because I bought a ticket to it at the Leeds Film Festival, and then the projector shut down. I mean, I went hundreds of miles from where I live in Bath up north up to Leeds in order to see 3 films. Well, actually, it was more than that. I mean, because I also went to the Manchester Animation Festival, but where I saw Flow and Memoir of a Snail. But in this 4-day trip, I saw 9 films. So it was one of them was supposed to be The Girl with the Needle. And then the projector shut down. So I've seen half of The Girl with the Needle, despite having paid for it. Although, thankfully, it is coming out on Mubi.com tomorrow. So I'm going to be able to watch the rest of it then. Oh, and that's the thing. I mean, they can now promote it as Oscar nominee, The Girl with the Needle, can't they? Which was probably deliberate. But yeah, so I'm going to be able to watch that tomorrow. But yeah, I mean, from what I've seen, the half of the film I've seen, it's about unwanted pregnancy in the early 20th century. I think it might even go into abortion, although we didn't get to that part with the section of the film I've seen. So, very serious, black and white cinematography. I mean, there was some talk that it would get a cinematography nomination. A much more traditional, a much more beautiful film, The Girl with the Needle, rather than Kneecap. But, they weren't brave enough to nominate Kneecap, which is disappointing, but not entirely unexpected. Cinematography there did go for Maria, a film that not many people liked, despite the fact it comes from acclaimed director Pablo Larraín. In fact, this happens to Pablo Larraín's last film, El Conde. Got no attention, didn't even get submitted by Chile to the International Feature Oscar race, which I think personally was a travesty because I really, really liked El Conde. But the one Oscar nomination that El Conde got was for cinematography. And the same thing's happened now with Maria getting a cinematography nod. I think that was the only nomination that Maria got. But yeah, that was mildly unexpected, although it did get nominated in the Cinematographers Guild Awards, so that wasn't entirely out of the blue. Anything else that comes to mind? Yeah, fucking Diane Warren got the song. And Elton John got a song nomination as well for the Elton John documentary. I suppose that wasn't entirely unexpected. But yeah, I mean, actually, I rather liked the Elton John song. I mean, I'm not the hugest fan of Elton John in general, but of the 14 songs out there, I mean, like I said yesterday, I did go through all of them and listen to them. I actually quite liked the Elton John one. I mean, as I said at the beginning of this video, I much would have preferred the Trent Reznor Atticus Ross song Compress Repress, the Kneecap song Sick in the Head, or kind of also the Pharrell song Piece by Piece from Piece by Piece. I wasn't the hugest fan of Piece by Piece, but it's an energetic song, it's a fun song, it's got some vibe to it. Whereas The Journey, I mean, as I said, I mean, it's sung beautifully. I have nothing against her or HER. I do not know how you're supposed to say her name. I've got nothing against the performer. It's just, for the love of God, stop trying to give Diane Warren a competitive Oscar. She is past her time. I mean, her particular brand of music was absolutely the right thing to do in the early 90s all the way through to the early 2000s, or late 90s, early 2000s as well. But now, her time has passed. You missed the opportunity to give her an Oscar when she actually deserved it. Stop trying to give her a competitive Oscar now. It's getting embarrassing for everybody. Stop it. Instead of this bland, ordinary, repetitive song, The Journey, which you did nominate. Go for something really confrontational, really in your face, like Sick in the Head by Kneecap. Like Compress, Repress by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. Do that. Do something new, something fresh, rather than the same old shit that we've always done, like Diane Warren. That really does piss me off. I mean, so both of the things that I didn't want to happen at the beginning of this video have happened. Clarence Maclin didn't get the Best Supporting Actor nomination. Diane Warren did get a Best Song nomination. Really annoys me. Yeah, I think that's everything I've got actual things to say about. So, yeah. A1 headline, I'm Still Here. Best Picture nomination for I'm Still Here, the Brazilian film. Is there a chance even it could sneak in to win Best International Feature over Emilia Perez, over Seed of the Sacred Fig? Maybe. And the more I think about it, the less I am a fan of Emilia Perez. I think there was no necessity to have songs in Emilia Perez, and I don't think they're particularly good songs either, despite the fact that 2 of them got nominated for Best Original Song. If you're familiar with opera, I mean, you've probably heard the concept of an aria. You know, the big song, you know, the one that everybody can hum, the one that everybody can sing, you know, Nessun Dorma, all that kind of thing. But the bits in opera that aren't the arias are known as recitative. And that's what Emilia Perez came across as. Nothing but recitative. Nothing but just telling the story. Nothing that really grabs you. I mean, the song El Mal, which is probably going to win. I mean, it does have a little bit... It's got a chorus at least. It does stick in your mind. But as a piece of songwriting, I don't actually think it's that great.
Solo los niños, los narcos, los ratanaderos los llevan afuera de todos sus pueblos natales. A cambio de eso, Santos reduce los juicios a falta de pruebas. Habla, esta gente habla, pero ahora lo van a pagar, a pagar, a pagar. Habla, esta gente habla, pero lo van a pagar, lo van a pagar.
So much of that film is about the songs. In my opinion, it just didn't add enough to make it worthwhile. And I liked Emilia Perez. I didn't love Emilia Perez. I mean, of the films that were on the 15 film long list that I've actually seen, I've seen 7 out of them, so not quite halfway through. But I definitely prefer Kneecap over Emilia Perez. I might take Vermiglio, the Italian film, over Emilia Perez. But for me, it is just not the 100% absolutely take it going to win that I think it should be. I mean, as I said, the glasswork of the Pakistani film wasn't even on the 15 film long list. I would have taken that over Emilia Perez. The Belgian film, Julie Keeps Quiet, I really, really liked. That I would take over Emilia Perez. So, yeah, there's much better options in my mind. Although I am fascinated when I do eventually see I'm Still Here to see whether that would take the list. Or for that matter, Seed of the Sacred Fig, which was the other really, really strong international contender, even though this Iranian film from an Iranian director got submitted by Germany, which says a lot about the International Feature Oscar race, and I've been planning an International Feature Oscar race video for quite some time. I'm going to keep working away at that. But yes, I think that's the really big thing. I'm Still Here actually got a Best Picture nomination. That's the one really, really jaw-dropping moment from this announcement. alongside the disappointments of Clarence Maclin and Diane Warren. But yes, I mean, this video is already going to be extraordinarily long. I just can't shut up when I get going. So yes, I think I'll leave it at that in my analysis, my initial thoughts on the 2025 Oscars. Hopefully I'm going to be doing more videos once I've seen all the contenders and promote what I think should have been nominated, what I think will win, what I think should win. I'm currently large way through recording my editing my reaction to Beetlejuice. That should be coming shortly. My threefold reaction videos to Nosferatu. I'm also going to be working on soon reacting to both the 1924 silent version, the 1970s Werner Herzog version, and the modern Robert Eggers version. I'm going to be reacting to all three of those in some form, whether it's the same video, separate videos, I'm not sure, but I'm going to be reacting to all three faces of Nosferatu. Moana 2 is also scheduled to be released online next Tuesday, so that hopefully will be coming along soon. And once all that is done, I'll be getting back to my TV reactions as well. So yes, plenty of stuff I'm planning for this channel, and hopefully you'll find something you like. So if you've watched this far into the video, maybe I deserve a like. You can consider liking, subscribing, hitting the notification bell so you get warned every time I release a video. Have a look around on the channel, maybe you'll find something you like. There's plenty of stuff on there, but yes, I really have talked for too long. So all that remains for me to say is this has been a presentation of the Yay, Nay or Meh channel, and I will see you next time where I shine a light on TV and cinema, both obvious and obscure.